You missed it if you blinked. And if you did miss it, WWE wants you arguing about it right now. Because while Gunther stood there, calm, cold, dominant, soaking in the chaos he's created, something terrifying lingered behind him. Not a camera trick, not a lighting error. A shadow that made hardcore fans freeze their screens and rewind. Brock Lesnar. No entrance music, no commentary acknowledgement, no explanation, just the beast incarnate standing in the background like a loaded weapon. And here's the part that should make you mad: WWE didn't show it to you on purpose. The broadcast ignored it. The cameras never focused on it, but fans caught it anyway, and now the WWE universe is split down the middle. So let me ask you this right now: was that an accident or the most calculated tease WWE has pulled in years? Drop your answer in the comments, because this changes everything. Gunther isn't just another champion anymore. He's something worse. He's a career ender. First Goldberg, then John Cena. Let that sink in. John Cena's final match didn't end with fireworks or a heroic farewell. It ended with him tapping out, submitting, giving up in the middle of the ring, something fans swore would never happen. And Gunther didn't just when he claimed it. He stood over Cena's legacy and dared the crowd to boo him louder. Was that disrespect or was that dominance? And more importantly, did Gunther go too far? Because history says when someone dismantles legends back to back, Brock Lesnar eventually shows up. Think about the timing. Gunther is at the peak of his heat. The most hated man on the roster. The kind of heel that doesn't need cheap tricks, just pressure, pain, and inevitability. WWE doesn't give that level of momentum to someone unless they're about to test them against the biggest wall possible. And Brock Lesnar is that wall. Lesnar's returns are never random. He doesn't linger backstage for fun. When Brock appears, it's because WWE wants fear in the air. His post-SummerSlam run reminded everyone why he's still a final boss. Short appearances, total destruction, no wasted motion. So ask yourself, why would Brock be watching Gunther instead of attacking him? Is he scouting? Is he waiting? Or is WWE letting the tension boil until it explodes? Fans online are already tearing each other apart over this. Some say Brock is next in line to stop Gunther's reign of terror. Others think Gunther is being positioned as the man who finally conquers Brock Lesnar and cements himself as the most dominant force of the modern era. Which side are you on, Team Beast or Team Ring General? And here's where it gets dangerous. Gunther doesn't flinch. He doesn't rush. He doesn't chase moments, he absorbs them. Imagine a promo where Gunther mocks Brock's silence, calls him a ghost, says legends only hide when they're afraid to be surpassed. Would Brock even respond with words? Or would he do what Brock always does: destroy first, explain never? This isn't fantasy booking. This is WWE logic. Two unstoppable forces. One ring. No excuses. And a company heading into 2026 needing a rivalry that feels historic, brutal, and unavoidable. Picture it: shadows in hallways. Brock sightings that never get addressed. Gunther growing more arrogant every week. Then one night chaos. A sudden F5. A championship tossed aside like it means nothing. That's how eras collide. So here's the real question: who actually needs this feud more? Does Brock need Gunther to stay relevant? Or does Gunther need Brock to prove he's untouchable? Because whoever walks away from that collision doesn't just win a match. They control WWE's future. Sound off in the comments. Was that shadow a warning or a declaration of war? If Brock vs Gunther happens, who should win the first match? And where should it happen, WrestleMania or SummerSlam? This is the kind of moment wrestling is built on. Blink and you miss it clues, fan-driven speculation, and two monsters slowly circling each other. And trust me, Ring Rumble will be watching every shadow. Because if you think that shadow was the end of it, you're already behind. Since that Raw episode, WWE has been moving different. Camera angles lingering just a second longer. Commentary dancing around certain names without saying them. Gunther being framed like a man who believes he's untouchable. And history tells us that's exactly when Brock Lesnar strikes. Here's something that should bother you: Gunther hasn't acknowledged Brock at all. Not one word, not one glance, not even a dismissive laugh. Is that confidence or denial? Because every great WWE collision starts the same way. One man pretends the other doesn't exist. The other waits until ignoring him becomes impossible. Let me ask you this: if Brock wanted Gunther's attention, what's the fastest way to get it? Attack Imperium? Cost him a title match? Or do something worse, something personal? Gunther's entire aura is built on control, discipline, order. Brock Lesnar is chaos. Pure violence with no structure. That's why this feud works on a psychological level, not just physical. Gunther breaks people down over time. Brock erases them in seconds. And WWE knows that contrast sells. Think back to how Brock's biggest feud started. He didn't announce himself. He didn't explain his motives. He just showed up and changed the trajectory of careers. Cena, Roman, Undertaker. Every time Brock entered their orbit, nothing was the same afterward. So what happens if Brock doesn't challenge Gunther for the title right away? What if he just keeps appearing? Background shots, locker room walkbys, a silhouette here, a stare there. How long before Gunther cracks? And when he does he rush Brock, or does Brock finally decide it's time? This is where WWE can play the long game, a slow burn that drives fans insane. Because the more they delay the first physical contact, the louder the crowd reaction will be when it finally happens. Quick poll for you: do you want WWE to slow burn this feud, or pull the trigger immediately? Comment slow or now. And let's talk stakes. If Gunther beats Brock Lesnar clean, that's not just a win, that's immortality. If Brock destroys Gunther, that resets the entire main event scene and reminds everyone that no matter how dominant you look, the beast still hunts at the top. Either way, someone's aura takes a hit. WWE doesn't do matches like this casually. There's also another layer nobody's talking about enough: who benefits from the chaos. Roman Reigns watching from afar, Cody Rhodes waiting for an opening, Braun Breaker lurking as the next enforcer of the future. A Brock-Gunther war doesn't exist in a vacuum. It fractures the power structure of WWE. Titles move, alliances shift, opportunities open. So here's the big one: does Brock Lesnar even care about the championship, or is Gunther himself the prize? Because if Brock's goal is to test himself against the most dominant force of this era, the belt is just collateral damage. And Gunther? He's built his entire reign on proving that no one, not legends, not icons, not monsters, can stop the march of the Ring General. Two philosophies, one ring, no escape. That shadow wasn't subtle. It wasn't accidental. It was WWE lighting the fuse and letting fans do the rest. Now it's your turn. Was Brock scouting his next victim, or sizing up his greatest challenge yet? Does Gunther retire another legend, or does Brock remind him that dominance has a ceiling? Drop your predictions below. Argue it out. Share this with the one friend who swears Brock is unbeatable. Because if this collision happens, you'll remember the moment you first saw the shadow. And Ring Rumble will be right here when it all explodes. Because the scariest part of all this, WWE hasn't confirmed anything. No graphic, no tweet, no breaking news, no denial. And in WWE, silence is never empty. Silence is strategy. Every week that passes without Brock's name being spoken makes that shadow heavier. It turns Gunther's dominance into paranoia. Because dominance only feels real when it's uncontested, and Brock Lesnar is the one man whose existence alone contests everything. Watch Gunther closely now. The chops are stiffer, the match is shorter, the stare colder. That's not coincidence. That's a champion who feels eyes on him. And Brock doesn't rush legends. He lets them convince themselves they're untouchable first. That's when he takes the most pleasure tearing them down. Here's a detail most people are missing: Brock didn't confront Gunther because he didn't need to. Gunther felt him anyway. That's power. When your presence changes behavior without a single word or punch. And if WWE is really telling the story the way it looks like they are, then the first physical interaction won't be a match. It'll be an ambush. No bell, no referee, no warning. One moment Gunther is issuing another cold, dismissive proclamation about order and legacy. The next F5. Silence. Titles scattered. Imperium laid out like collateral damage. That's when the fear hits. Because Gunther can dominate men who fight him. But Brock Lesnar doesn't fight fair. He fights when it benefits him. And when that happens, everything changes. The crowd doesn't boo. They don't cheer. They gasp. Because they realize the Ring General has finally met something he can't control. And here's the twist nobody's ready for yet. What if Brock doesn't want to end Gunther? What if he wants to see how far he can push him? What if this isn't about stopping a reign but forging the most dangerous champion WWE has ever had, by almost breaking him? Because the scariest version of Gunther isn't the one who believes he's untouchable. It's the one who's been touched by Brock Lesnar and survived. That's when dominance stops being theoretical. That's when it becomes myth. So keep watching the corners of the screen. Keep rewinding the backgrounds. Keep arguing in the comments. Because WWE didn't want you to see the shadow. They wanted you to feel it. And once you do, there's no unseeing it. The war hasn't started yet, but the hunt already has. And here's the part that separates a good WWE story from a generational one. The first time Brock and Gunther lock eyes, it won't be framed as a clash. It'll be framed as a measurement. Because Brock doesn't see champions. He sees tests. And Gunther doesn't see monsters. He sees systems to be dismantled. That's why this works on a level most feuds never reach. Think about it: Gunther's entire rise has been about proving that chaos fails eventually. That discipline outlasts explosiveness. That if you hit hard enough, long enough, even legends fold. But Brock Lesnar isn't chaos that burns out. He's chaos that chooses when to ignite. That's the paradox. Gunther can outlast almost anyone. Brock doesn't need to last, he only needs a moment. And WWE knows exactly how dangerous that idea is. That's why they're letting the air thicken. That's why Brock's presence stays unspoken. That's why Gunther keeps pretending nothing's wrong. Because the longer Gunther ignores Brock, the louder the question becomes. What happens when control meets inevitability? Picture the visual WWE is slowly building toward. Gunther in the ring, chest red, opponent unconscious, crowd raining hatred, and then, not music, not pyro, just Brock stepping through the curtain, no rush, no smirk, no attack, just a stare that tells the audience everything they need to know. This doesn't belong to you yet. That's when the crowd flips. Because hatred turns into anticipation, and anticipation turns into fear, and fear is Brock's currency. Now let's talk about timing, because this is where WWE usually tells you the truth. They don't burn Brock returns on random episodes. They don't waste Gunther's aura on filler defenses. They aim for moments where eras shift. That points to two options and neither is small. If it's SummerSlam, that's WWE saying this is about violence, spectacle, and shock. Short, brutal, uncomfortable, a match that feels like it could end someone's career. If it's WrestleMania, that's WWE saying this is about legacy, about passing or refusing to pass the torch, about deciding who defines dominance for the next decade. And here's the uncomfortable truth fans don't want to admit. There's no safe winner. If Gunther wins,